Hello, welcome. My name is Melissa. This is our online weight management class. Today, we are talking about exercise. One of my favorite topics, one of my favorite things to do, exercise. It's not everyone's favorite thing to do though, so that's why we're talking about it today. Exercise is a key component of weight management and overall health. Whatever your weight loss or weight management goal is, I recommend making physical activity a part of your life, a regular part of your life. Exercise is, like I said, one of my favorite topics to talk about because I feel very passionate about how good it is for our health. So there are many benefits of exercise, and we're going to talk through 7 of them. Many benefits for both weight management and for overall health. So first, it increases your daily calorie burn. This, when combined with nutrition management, proper nutrition, you can create a calorie deficit, is what it's called, a calorie deficit that can lead to weight loss. Another benefit is that it can increase your muscle mass. Muscle tissue is metabolically active, meaning that it burns calories all day long and not just when you're exercising. The more calories you burn, the easier it can be to reach your weight goal, of course. So if you have more calories burning without even having to do anything, it can help with your weight management. Our fat, on the other hand, compared to muscle, is not metabolically active, meaning it is not burning calories all day long in the same way that muscle tissue is. So another benefit is weight maintenance. Once you've achieved your weight goal, exercise can assist you in being able to actually maintain that weight goal long term. Another benefit is it decreases your risk of cardiovascular disease and other chronic diseases. Exercise, specifically aerobic or cardio exercise, depending on who you ask what you want to call it, it can help keep the heart muscles healthy. And in addition, exercise can help reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, stroke, and several types of cancer, among other diseases. Another benefit is that it improves your blood pressure. Somewhat related to the previous point about cardiovascular health, exercise can help with weight management and with management of blood pressure. And it actually can help reduce high blood pressure overall when you make exercise a regular part of your life. Another benefit is that it decreases your risk of osteoporosis. Bone health is affected by many factors, but one that we have a lot of control over is exercise. Any kind of weight-bearing exercise helps support bone health. Weight-bearing exercises would be like walking, running, and weightlifting. As a side note, activities like swimming and bike riding are great exercise, but they are not considered as weight-bearing as walking, running, weightlifting. They don't provide quite as much support as the other types of exercises for bone health because they're not truly weight bearing. It's important to include some types of weight bearing exercises in your routine, not just only swimming or only bike riding. And another final benefit of exercise, it can decrease the symptoms of anxiety and depression. Back when I was in nutrition school, I did a 40-page research paper all about this exact topic. While exercise may not cure depression or anxiety for everyone, it can help reduce the symptoms of those conditions. Now, let's talk about weight loss without exercise briefly. Before we get too much into exercise, I do want to address this. It is possible to lose weight without exercising at all, but it is recommended to include physical activity in your weight management plan. As we just learned, exercise provides numerous health benefits beyond just weight management. Additionally, if you're not exercising while losing weight, you will be at higher risk for losing muscle mass as well as bone density as you lose overall weight. So again, while you can lose weight without exercise, I do not recommend that method unless you are fully limited physically and are unable to tolerate exercise. In that case, weight loss without exercise is recommended. So let's talk about guidelines for exercise. There are specific recommendations for exercise, which you've possibly heard of before, because I know I've talked about them. And most Americans actually don't meet the minimum recommendations, unfortunately. That's why we have such a difficult time with obesity and overweight in America. One of the reasons, I should say. According to the Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans, which is created by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, these, and I'm going to share my screen, these are the guidelines for exercise. Let me make sure I can share my screen. Okay, here we go. Because I feel that it's helpful, there we go, to see them written down. So these are the specific recommendations for exercise. Number 1 for cardio, 150 to 300 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic activity. You'll sometimes hear people say 30 minutes on 5 days a week. That's the equivalent of the 150, or 60 minutes on 5 days a week. That would be the equivalent of the 300. So somewhere in between that time amount per week is recommended for cardio exercise. For people who are wanting to lose weight, the 300 minutes is more recommended. The more exercise you do, closer to that 300, the more health benefits you may receive. In addition to this, 2 days or more per week of muscle strengthening activities. And we are going to talk about both the aerobic and the muscle strengthening activities in more detail. So let's talk about the aerobic exercise first. These are the recommendations here are for moderate intensity aerobic activity, like I said, or if you are an exerciser already, vigorous intensity aerobic activity. If you do that type of exercise, you don't have to do quite as much of that higher intensity exercise, and that'd be 75 to 150 minutes per week. Most of us are going to be exercising in that moderate intensity aerobic activity range. Preferably, aerobic activity should be spread throughout the week on at least 3 days per week. You can do all 150 minutes one day, but to get the most health benefits, spreading out your minutes throughout the week is recommended. As I kind of mentioned, it should be noted that these guidelines are for overall health, the 150 minutes. So people who want to lose weight, 300 minutes is recommended. That's why there's that range. And again, to gain more health benefits, exercising for closer to that 300-minute time range. If you're new to exercise, slowly increase your time of exercise over time, over a few weeks. Make sure that you're cleared for exercise as well by your physician if you have any major medical health conditions. Let's touch now on the moderate intensity part of that recommendation, because it can be confusing for people. The intensity of your exercise, of your aerobic exercise, does matter, and there are a few ways to measure that intensity. One way, which is the easiest way, probably, is called perceived exertion. This method, as you can see right here, this method uses a scale from 1 to 10. That's there on the rating scale on the left side, from 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. And your exertion level for moderate intensity, as you can see, should be around a 5 or a 6. The aim is to maintain that throughout your aerobic workout as well. So aiming for that 5 to 6. Another method is called the talk test. This is probably even easier than the perceived exertion. Essentially, during your aerobic activity, you should be working at an intensity level that still allows you to talk if needed, but you would be too out of breath to sing a song to someone, okay? A third and final way of measuring intensity level is to monitor your heart rate. And so many people have the watches or heart rate monitors these days. So that does it for you. But for moderate intensity, your heart rate range for your heart rate should be 65 to 75% of your max heart rate. Although you are welcome to exercise more intensely in vigorous or whatever exercise, you don't have to stay within that 65 to 75 percent range. However, you wanted to get at least to that 65% range. This method requires a little bit more thought and skill, but should be doable for most. So like I said, a lot of us have watches that check our heart rate for us. So if you have one of those, great, you don't have to check your own heart rate. But if you don't have one of those watches, you need to know how to check your pulse. So use your two fingers, not your thumb. So I use my two index finger and middle finger. Use your two fingers to find the spot between on your wrist, between your bone and your tendon, located on the thumb side. So there should be, I have to do it this way. There should be a groove spot right in between those. And gently press with your fingers on that spot, gently, and you should be able to feel your heartbeat on that spot. Again, don't use your thumb because our thumb has a pulse. So use those two pointer and middle fingers. Count the number of beats that you feel for 10 seconds, then multiply that number by 6. That number is your current heart rate in beats per minute. As I mentioned before, the moderate intensity heart rate zone is a percentage of your maximum heart rate. Your maximum heart rate is determined by subtracting your current age from 220. Once you know your maximum heart rate, your moderate intensity zone is the 65 to 75% of that number. This is getting into quite a bit of detail. So I created a handy chart right here. Hopefully you can see this. I created a handy chart that you can actually find your target heart rate range just based on your age. I already calculated everything for you. So as an example, if you are 50 years old, your moderate intensity target heart rate range would be 111 to 128 beats per minute. That's the range you should aim for to sustain while you're doing your moderate intensity exercise, your cardio exercise. So some examples of moderate intensity and vigorous intensity, if you're into that sort of thing, but moderate intensity exercise would be briskly walking, and that's more than a stroll or more than taking your dog on a walk that stops every 10 feet to smell things. Walking briskly at a nice clip, swimming, biking, doubles tennis, power yoga can get your heart rate up, different types of dancing, different types of yard work, different types of exercise classes. That's one of my favorite ways to exercise. And then vigorous intensity, there are things like jogging, running, swimming laps. So that's swimming with a lot more intention. Singles tennis, where you're running around more vigorous exercising, biking at a quicker pace or up hills perhaps, jumping rope, which is really hard to do for 30 minutes straight, I will say that. Heavy yard work, so not just tinkering around, pulling weeds, but heavy yard work. Hiking uphill can get that heart rate up into that vigorous intensity range, and also high intensity exercise classes like kickboxing, something like that. Okay. Next, we're going to talk back about the muscle strengthening. So I'm going to go back to this page. Muscle strengthening. It's recommended for adults to engage in at least 2 days of muscle strengthening activities at a level of moderate or greater intensity, and it should include all the major muscle groups. So that would be your legs, your hips, back, chest, abdomen, shoulders, and arms. Essentially, you want to think arms, core, legs, right? There's no specific amount of time that's recommended for muscle strengthening, but the exercises should be performed to a point at which it would be difficult to complete another repetition. So a general guide would be to determine a weight or intensity level that would be difficult, or that would allow you to complete 3 sets of 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 repetitions of an exercise with a rest in between each set of 1 to 3 minutes. And it should be challenging to complete that final repetition. So for example, if we're doing bicep curls, we would do, let's say, 10 bicep curls. And when we get to 9 and 10, it's really hard to get that weight all the way up. And then we take a rest for a minute or so. And then we do another 10. And it's hard to get that weight all the way up on rep 8, 9, and 10. And then we take a rest for another minute. And then we do one more set of 10. And again, it's really difficult to get that weight all the way up for rep 9 and 10. That's what you want to be working towards with your exercises in order to build muscle or at least maintain the muscle. The purpose of strength training is to make the muscles do more work than they're typically accustomed to doing. So in other words, we want to overload our muscles. Muscles need to be challenged in that way to promote improvement or to promote growth. We all want to be strong and we want to have toned and functional muscles. So it's important to work them with our muscle strengthening exercises in a way that will support that. So examples of muscle strengthening exercises would be, of course, lifting weights. That's what you traditionally think of. Also working with resistance bands, so stretchy, elastic type of bands. Calisthenics that use body weight for the resistance, like push-ups, pull-ups, planks, carrying heavy loads, like if you are moving a bunch of boxes, or heavy gardening, like lifting pots, shoveling, stuff like that. So that was a lot of information about exercise. I know exercise can provide so many positive effects for our health, and it's important for weight management during both the weight loss phase and the maintenance phases. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. During the weight loss and the weight maintenance phases. If you're brand new to exercise, start slowly and work your way towards those recommendations that we mentioned. Work your way up to those over time, over a few weeks, over a few months as needed. Ultimately, each week, aim for at least 30 to 60 minutes of aerobic exercise on at least 3 days. 5 days would be great. At least 3 days for cardio exercise, and at least 2 days per week of muscle strengthening activities with the intention of working your muscles in a way that's beyond what you typically do during a regular day. If you need more guidance with the muscle strengthening portion specifically, there are quite a few strength training exercise videos on our YouTube and our Facebook page. So those are ones that I've taught. Go check those out. There's tons of them on there. All classes that I've done are saved on the YouTube channel. Also, if you have any questions, let me know. I am a personal trainer in addition to being a dietitian, so I can answer a decent amount of questions if you have any. Like I said, exercise is one of my favorite topics, so I encourage everyone to find something that they enjoy that's going to be sustainable for them, sustainable for you, so that you enjoy exercise and that you'll incorporate it in your life long term. Let me know if you have any questions, any comments. Thanks for watching. I will see you all next time.